An abandoned swimming pool somewhere in ruined Britain. Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal sits up on a platform above the empty pool, looking down at his gang, the Fingers. Every member wears a blonde wig and gold chains. Every member has been renamed Jimmy. And down in the pool, a 12-year-old boy named Spike has been told to fight one of them to the death if he wants to earn his place. His opponent is Jimmy Shite. Spike is smaller, weaker, and outmatched almost immediately. Shite beats him down, and it looks like the fight is over. Then, Spike yanks Shite's trousers down, gets a grip on a knife, and stabs him in the thigh. Jimmy Crystal watches from above, unimpressed, until Spike pulls the knife out and everyone in the pool sees the blood. Spike hit an artery. The blood is spurting. Shite drops to his knees, begging for help, and nobody moves. Oh, the gang watches him bleed out on the concrete. He dies on the floor of the pool. Spike gets his blonde wig, gets his new name, Jimmy, and the Fingers move on. Meanwhile, in a forest somewhere on the mainland, a hunter is tracking a deer. He does not see Samson coming. Samson is an alpha infected, massive, fast, and savage. He catches the hunter, and for a split second, we see the world through Samson's eyes. The hunter looks like a screaming infected monster. Samson tears the man's head and spine clean out of his body. Not far away, in an underground bunker, Dr. Ian Kelson is playing Duran Duran's Girls on Film and dancing around as he gets dressed. Photos of his old life, his wife, his previous world are pinned to the walls. He steps outside and walks through his life's work, the Bone Temple. Thousands of human skulls and bones, cleaned and arranged into towering pillars, a memorial to the dead built by one man over years of solitude. Kelson has been using morphine darts from a blowgun to sedate Samson every time the alpha shows up, and Samson keeps showing up. Kelson has figured out why. Samson is addicted to the morphine. He is choosing to come back. He is letting himself be sedated on purpose. And under the morphine's influence, something extraordinary is happening. The rage drains out of him. Kelson is no longer a target. Samson starts sitting next to him by the river, eating berries instead of raw meat, putting on clothing. One night, Kelson puts on a record, Duran Duran's Rio, and Samson dances with him. Two figures in the dark, swaying together in the ruins of everything, and neither one of them is afraid. Kelson even falls asleep next to the alpha. When he wakes up, Samson is gone, and as Kelson dryly notes to himself, his head is still attached to his body. The problem is, the morphine is running out. Kelson has scavenged drugs from a 70-mile radius and only has a couple of weeks left. With nothing else to offer, he prepares to euthanize Samson because the psychological pain the virus causes is enormous and Kelson cannot bear to leave him suffering. The needle is ready, and then Samson, who has been staring at the full moon, says a word, clearly, out loud. Moon. Kelson is stunned. That single word means the virus has not destroyed the person inside. The mind is still there, buried under the rage, and it can be reached. The virus, Kelson realizes, works on 3 levels: physical, sensory, and psychiatric. The aggression is a symptom of psychosis, hallucinations that terrify the infected into violence. If you treat the psychosis, you might get the person back. On the other side of the story, a couple named Tom and Cathy are foraging for mushrooms near their farmhouse. Cathy is pregnant. They are living with a small group of survivors, including an older man named George and a few others. An infected appears. The older man with them tries to fight it instead of hiding. His screams attract more infected. He is overwhelmed, vomits blood, and turns. Tom and Cathy run. They make it back to the farmhouse, and they walk in to find Jimmy Crystal and the Fingers sitting at their kitchen table, eating their food. Sir Jimmy makes one of his gang, Jimmima, do the Dipsy Dance while he explains the Teletubbies to the table. One of the farmhouse residents throws a pan of boiling water at the Fingers. Tom screams at Cathy to run. She does. Jimmy sends Ink off to scout their next location. She is annoyed because she is going to miss what comes next, what Jimmy calls charity. The 4 remaining farmhouse survivors are dragged to the barn, tied up and hung from the rafters. One by one, 3 of them are skinned alive while still conscious. Sir Jimmy calls it removal of the shirt. Cathy is hiding in the floor above, watching, unable to look away. Spike runs outside and vomits. Ink finds him there and stays with him. Tom is the last one. Jimmy gives him a choice: fight one of the Jimmies or get charity. Tom picks Jimmima and she is furious, accusing him of thinking she would be easier because she is a girl. She overpowers him easily and sits on him to begin removal of the trousers. Then, Cathy swings a meat hook from above and hits Jimmima in the back of the head. Jimmima drops dead. Tom grabs a gas canister, sets one of the fingers on fire, and the barn goes up. Tom burns with it. If you are following this and want to see what happens when these two stories collide, subscribe so you catch the full thing. Outside, with the barn still burning, Jimmy Crystal sends Spike after Cathy, who has escaped through a fortified gate. Spike catches up to her. He has a weapon, and he cannot do it. He begs her to take him with her. She hits him and locks the gate behind her, leaving him on the wrong side. Spike walks back to the gang and tells Jimmy Crystal he killed her. Jimmy asks why he did not bring back her face as proof. Jimmy threatens to kill Spike as a tribute to old Nick, Satan, whom Jimmy believes is his father. Spike is crying, trying to hold it together, and Ink steps in. She tells Jimmy they should go visit old Nick himself and ask him directly what to do with Spike. She describes what she saw from a distance while scouting. A red-skinned figure surrounded by towers of bone, attended by a giant creature. She is convinced she saw the devil. They travel to the Bone Temple. Jimmy Crystal leaves the fingers camped in the woods and goes to meet Kelson alone. The two of them have a long conversation. Kelson tells Jimmy plainly that he is not Satan. He is a doctor named Ian. Jimmy does not care. He tells Kelson that if he does not pretend to be Satan in front of the fingers and confirm Jimmy's authority, Jimmy will kill him very slowly. Kelson, out of options, agrees. Before the performance, Kelson does something crucial. He gives Samson a massive final dose of antipsychotics, everything he has left, because he knows he may not get another chance. Samson wanders off into the forest, and the drugs start working. Birdsong fills his ears, children's voices, the sound of a train. Samson walks to an abandoned train car that has been a gathering point for the infected and sits down. And in his mind, he is a boy again. He is riding a train with his family. A ticket collector comes through the car and asks for his ticket. Samson says, out loud, "I don't have a ticket." It is the longest sentence he has spoken. The man inside the Alpha, buried for years under the virus, surfaces for one clear moment. Then, the infected around him on the train sense something is different. They attack. Something about Samson, his speech, his returning humanity, makes them see him as prey now. Samson fights them off. Still enormous, still fast, still carrying the rage underneath. He gets out. Back at the Bone Temple, Kelson is preparing. An Iron Maiden vinyl turns up in his bunker. The speakers get rigged. Candles go up on the bone pillars. A circle of petrol is poured on the ground. A cross is built and dragged into position. This man knows he is about to perform for his life. When Jimmy Crystal arrives with the fingers the next night, Kelson is ready. Black and white makeup. Long black coat. The needle drops on Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast, and Kelson goes for it. Dancing, shrieking, jumping through the bone pillars, waving fiery lanterns, singing along to the music. The petrol ignites and a ring of fire erupts around the fingers. Drugs get blown in their faces. These kids have never heard music blasted like this. They have never seen anything like this. It is loud, chaotic, terrifying, and genuinely hilarious. A middle-aged scientist in face paint doing the most committed satanic performance in the history of the apocalypse. The fingers are completely sold. They believe they have met the devil. When the music stops, Kelson delivers the commandments Jimmy Crystal has demanded. Keep doing your work. Obey Jimmy Crystal. He hopes this is enough and they will leave. Then he walks toward the smallest Jimmy, still wearing a mask. He asks the boy to remove it, and he sees Spike's face. Everything changes. Kelson looks at this 12-year-old boy trapped inside a gang of killers, and he cannot just send them on their way. He has to stop this now. He announces a final commandment. Satan requires a sacrifice of his son. Just as Jesus, God's son, died on the cross, Jimmy Crystal, Satan's son, must be crucified as an offering to his father. Jimmy Crystal is furious. The act gets ripped apart. The fingers are told this is not Satan, just a man, a doctor. And Jimmy drives a knife into Kelson's stomach. But the spell, for Ink at least, is already broken. Spike stabs Jimmy Crystal. Ink kills the remaining fingers. As Kelson lies on the ground, Bleeding out among the bones he spent years collecting, Spike kneels beside him and holds his hand. Ink tells Kelson the wound is fatal. She says she will complete his last commandment. She nails Jimmy Crystal to the upside-down cross Kelson had built. Jimmy is crying, calling for his mother. He says he can no longer hear his father's voice in his head. Spike and Ink walk away from the bone temple together. She tells Spike her real name, Kelly, and then Samson returns. The Alpha infected walks into the temple, sees Kelson on the ground, and kneels beside him. Kelson's name comes out of Samson's mouth. Then, thank you. Then Samson lifts Kelson's body off the ground and carries him away, out of the temple, into the dark. On the cross, Jimmy Crystal sees Samson and believes, in his final hallucinating moments, that he is looking at Satan. The infected take him. The film cuts to a white cottage in the countryside, the same cottage from the very end of the original 28 Days Later. Inside, a man is teaching his teenage daughter a history lesson he has set for her exam the next day. The lesson is about how Germany's treatment after World War I led to World War II, and how after that war, the world realized that fascism and nationalism needed to be crushed out of existence. The girl's name is Sam. The man is Jim. Cillian Murphy, back from the very first film, 28 years later, alive with a daughter, teaching history in a cottage at the edge of the world. Sam hears something outside. They step out. Down the hill, in the distance, Spike and Kelly are running from a group of infected. They are outnumbered and losing ground. Do we help them? Of course we do. Jim picks up his rifle, and they walk toward the danger.